Hi, I'm Mark Gaylor. I'm a Sony Imaging Ambassador, and the purpose of this quick tutorial is to help you make the correct decision about which Sony APS-C mirrorless camera is the correct one for you to purchase. Now, the A6000 camera was released back in 2014 and is still selling like hotcakes. It is one of Sony's best-selling mirrorless cameras. Now, it is 6 years old, however, and you are going to lose a little bit of the newer performance features if you invest in that camera. So my first recommendation is to look at one of the 6000 series cameras that is actually on this table. They were all released in 2019 and they have certain technological advantages by spending a little bit more money. So the cheapest one on the table here now is the 6100. Now this is a small form factor. Obviously the smaller sensor, smaller lenses gives you that form factor, and it also reduces the cost or the outlay of getting into these cameras. Now, one of the advantages of the cameras on the table compared to the 6000 is they all have these flippable screens, and that means that you can use them for vlogging and you can also use them for selfies, and so that is a distinct advantage. But perhaps for me the biggest advantage of the cameras that were released last year is their autofocus performance. It is widely regarded now that these cameras have the best autofocus cameras in their class. They have something called AF tracking. Now, they're very easy to use when you've got the camera up to your face using the finder, but you can also just touch your subject on the back of the screen and let the camera follow the focus of that person who's moving around. And it's also capable of shooting fast action sports or even birds in flight. These cameras are exceptional or have exceptional autofocus capability for the money. So the Alpha 6100 certainly makes a lot of sense for photographers who probably imagine that they'll just leave the camera in auto. A casual shooter, they don't want to read endless manuals or watch endless movies by me about how to get the best out of their camera. So the way that Sony have saved a little bit of money on this camera is the build quality isn't quite as good. Basically, there's more plastic here than in these two models. It certainly feels okay, but I just need to point that out. There is a little bit of difference in build quality. The other thing that Sony have decided to do is they've decided to trim down the menus, perhaps to be less confusing. So there are some menu items that maybe creative photographers use on a daily or weekly basis that are just not available on this camera. For me, there's only one really important one that I would miss if I had to use this camera. It's a feature called ISO auto minimum shutter speed, and if I'm already talking a language that you don't want to learn, certainly this camera isn't going to be a problem. You're just going to leave it in auto and let the camera figure out what it needs to do. Having said that, if you are going to use the extra AF performance, the autofocus performance all of these cameras have, you will watch, if you only ever watch one movie, is my AF tracking movie. These cameras don't come out of the box being able to follow subjects around the screen. You basically have to change a couple of settings. So certainly you do need to watch that movie. You won't have to set that camera up every day, but you will need to change from the settings that the camera came out of the box with. I wish Sony would make those changes now, so you can simply take it out of the box, charge the battery and start photographing. Now this camera is also features the 16 to 50 power zoom. It's a kit lens. It's okay, but it's built down to a price point, and it certainly keeps the purchase price of the camera kit down if you're buying that. It's only a 3x zoom, so it has limited reach. So if you're looking for a little bit more reach, you might find this camera bundled together with another lens, which is the 55-210. It's small, it's portable, it's light, it gives you that reach for sports and wildlife, and generally it doesn't cost much either as well. So these two lenses often get sold together, so certainly look out for deals or bargains going with these two together. So if you've got a little bit more budget to spend and you think you might be coming out of auto mode and getting a little bit creative, i.e. you want to make using these cameras a hobby, then I certainly would move up a little bit from the 6100 to the 6400 camera. It's got the better build quality, it's got all of those menu items that I would typically see across the full Sony Alpha range on their full frame cameras specifically. I would also maybe give the little kit lens a miss and see if you can find a bargain going along with this particular lens. It's the 18-135. It's a 7.5 times zoom, and for a lot of photographers that lens is the perfect travel lens. It gives you the wide angle for your landscapes, and it gives you the telephoto for your wildlife and sports, etc. So it's giving you a much bigger range, and it is pin sharp. So I would certainly look for a kit that sells the body, the 6400 and the 18135 together. An alternative to the 18135 is an 18-105 power zoom, and this is perhaps a better choice for people who predominantly do video work or movies. Okay, but I like the smaller form factor of the 18135 and the little bit more reach that this one provides. Now, if you're coming into APS-C cameras not because of cost but because of the form factor, and you do have a little bit more money to invest in these, you may want to move to my right here and start looking at Sony's Alpha 6600 camera. This does give you some advantages that we don't have in these two cameras, and I'll just showcase the first one. It is the fact that this uses a battery that is double the size and capacity of these ones here. These use the older W series batteries. The Z series battery, however, is for most photographers, it will last you all day. So you don't have to worry about whether the spare battery is charged or not, or whether you're even carrying that spare battery. I have to say it's not a great reason to put you off from buying these cameras, because for most people who are maybe carrying a spare battery in their pocket or in their camera bag, it really just takes 5 seconds to change over the battery. So it's not a deal killer really. Now, I come from an era where we used to get 36 shots on a roll of film, and this is certainly more capable of getting more than 350 or 60 shots on one single battery charge. So for just casual shooters, a single battery might be okay for you. The next benefit of this Alpha 6600 camera is that it has a stabilized sensor. It has what Sony refer to as SteadyShot Inside. And so that means you can use lenses that don't have optical steady shot, OSS, or you can use the OSS lenses and have the camera work the two steady shots together to give you the maximum possible ability to shoot in low ambient light with slow shutter speeds without using a tripod. If you are happy to carry a tripod, then you're not going to get any added benefit from this, but this does allow you to maybe leave the tripod at home more often. Now, I've matched this particular Alpha 6600 camera together with Sony's premium zoom lens that they released in 2019, which is their 1655 constant f2.8 aperture G lens. Now, it doesn't have optical steady shot, so it's less suitable for these cameras unless you're prepared to use a tripod. Its benefit is that it is as optically perfect as I've seen from a zoom lens on an APS-C system. It is sharp corner to corner, even at the wider apertures, so it's a no compromise lens. You will pay a little bit more money to get that optical quality, but if you had been looking at full frame lenses instead, you'll see that this is both small, portable, and not that expensive. Because this is basically a 3x zoom, if you're looking for maximum creative opportunities with this Alpha 6600, you'll probably want to invest in a longer telephoto zoom lens, and you would certainly take a look at the lens that was also released in 2019, which is the 70-350G. Now in full frame equivalence, that goes from 105 to 525 millimeters. So this certainly gives you a lot of reach for this size lens. Okay, it's going to give you the capability to shoot maybe birds in flight, wildlife on African safaris, sports when you can't get very close to the players. It is an excellent choice of lens. Now, so for many photographers, these two lenses on this kit is going to be more than enough. But if you're just looking to build up a few more creative opportunities, then I'm just going to highlight a couple of lenses that you may consider. After all, you are investing in an interchangeable lens camera system, so just having one lens that does everything is perhaps not the best solution for every photographer. So the first one is another zoom. It gives you the ultra wide angle field of view. It's Sony's SEL 1018 f4. Now it is reasonably small compared to full frame lenses, or very small compared to full frame lenses, and but it does give you that wide angle of view for specifically for landscape, interiors, real estate photography, etc., without having to do panoramic stitching in post-production or in camera. So that's something that you may want to consider. And the final lens I'm going to highlight here is a prime lens. Now Sony make an E50mm f1.8 for these lenses, and also a 35 1.8 for these cameras. Now I have to say that if I was going to make a recommendation, there are some full frame lenses, some f1.8 primes that perform really well on the APS-C cameras, and you are future-proofing yourself by investing in the full frame 1.8 primes, because it does mean that they will move over to your full frame cameras, or you can use them on pro camcorders without having to switch out and change lenses. It's Sony's one mount principle that you can use lenses across 3 systems: APS-C mirrorless, full frame mirrorless, and pro camcorders. So the 3 lenses I recommend, I'll just give you those again. It's the 35 1.8, the FE 55 1.8, and the FE 85 1.8. The FE stands for full frame E-mount. Now they are small, light, portable, and they are sharp on the APS-C sensors, even though they were designed for the full frame cameras. Okay, so if you invest in any of these lenses, then I am going to offer you ongoing support. I create ebooks for each of these cameras. Just head over to my website, www.markayler.com, look for the download section, and then find the ebooks, and you'll be able to download a 300-page ebook. You don't have to read it all in one go. There is an index and a contents page, and that will link through, a hyperlink through, so you can quickly move and navigate through the ebook. And there's also multiple links to over 35 movies on YouTube, so that if you get tired of reading, you can just watch me explain the feature instead. There are my recommendations. I'm not going to tell you absolutely which is the best one. Certainly the Alpha 6600 will be most suitable for very keen amateurs and maybe even semi-pro photographers who are looking for small form factors, and the 6100 gives you the cheapest entry into the latest Sony technology in the mirrorless systems. Okay, so I'm Mark Gaylor, Sony Imaging Ambassador.